The Ghosts of the Sarah Joe, a tale of lost souls and haunting secrets. It was February 11th, 1979. The Sarah Joe, a modest 17-foot Boston whaler, bobbed on the serene waves off the coast of Maui. On board were 5 friends: Benjamin Kalama, 38, Patrick Woessner, 26, Peter Hanchett, 31, Ralph Malaiakini, 27, and Scott Moorman, 27. Seasoned sailors all with 50 years of combined experience, they intended nothing more than a casual fishing trip. They laughed, joked, and reminisced, oblivious to the brewing tempest that would change everything. The morning was perfect, the sky clear and blue, yet 2 hours after they set sail, ominous clouds began to gather. By noon, the wind had picked up, and the horizon darkened with a storm's wrath. The friends exchanged uneasy glances but decided to head back. Little did they know, this decision would seal their fate. Peter's father, John, grew worried as the hours passed with no sign of the Sarah Joe. His concern turned into dread, prompting him to gather several locals, including marine biologist John Naughton and Coast Guard Captain Jim Cushman. They braved the gale force winds, their boat battered by 40-foot swells. The ocean was a maelstrom, each wave a mountain, each gust a howl of menace. They searched tirelessly, but the Sarah Joe had vanished. On the shore, families and locals watched in horror, hoping for a miracle that never came. Desperation set in. Minutes turned into hours, and hours into days. The storm had ravaged Maui, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. John's search continued, his hope a flickering candle against the storm's fury. The official search, after covering 73,000 square miles, was called off. The ocean, it seemed, had swallowed the Sarah Joe whole. The Hana residents scoured the beaches, their hearts heavy with sorrow. The disappearance became one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the time. A vast fleet of ships and aircraft had found nothing, not even a scrap of wreckage. Desperate measures were taken, including the use of homing pigeons trained to find people at sea. But hope faded, leaving only a haunting silence. Experts concluded that the Sarah Joe had wrecked, lost with all hands. A memorial service was held, the names of the 5 men echoing through the solemn air. The ocean had claimed them, or so it seemed. But then, a decade later, the story took a twist no one could have anticipated. On September 9, 1988, John Naughton, who had searched for the missing crew in 1979, was now on a wildlife expedition in the Marshall Islands, 200 miles southwest of Hawaii. The Tongi Atoll, remote and deserted, loomed ahead. As Naughton scanned the horizon, a flash of blue caught his eye. A small boat, battered and weathered. His heart raced. Could it be? He approached, the sea whispering secrets. The boat's registration numbers were faint but unmistakable. It was the Sarah Joe. Fate had led Naughton to this forsaken place. Near the boat, a makeshift grave lay hidden among the coral rocks, marked by a crude wooden cross. A human jawbone protruded from the shallow grave. Naughton's hands trembled as he excavated the site. A partial skeleton emerged, a tooth identifying the remains as Scott Moorman. What had brought Scott to this desolate place, 2,200 miles from where he vanished? And who had buried him? The atoll showed no signs of habitation. The mystery deepened. In the grave, they found papers, carefully buried, interspersed with tin foil slips. The papers were blank, arranged like an open book. What did they mean? Who placed them there? Experts agreed the Sarah Joe could have drifted 200 miles to Tongi, taking around 3 months. Yet a 1985 survey of Tongi found no wreckage or grave. The boat had wrecked after 1985, 5 years after its disappearance. Where had it been? The boat was too small and flimsy to survive such a journey. Yet it was found on Tongi, and Scott had survived the storm. Perhaps the boat had landed on a different atoll, later carried to Tongi by violent weather. But who found and buried Scott? Some speculate a Chinese fishing vessel found Scott and buried him according to an ancient tradition. This theory matches the burial arrangement. The fishing crew, fishing illegally, would not have reported the incident to avoid detection. The other 4 men likely perished in the storm. The questions persist. How did the Sarah Joe make it to Tongi? Who buried Scott? Why weren't they found in 1985? The case of the Sarah Joe remains unsolved. Family members still hope the other 4 men will be found. A private investigator, Steve Goodnow, discovered more of Scott's bones and the boat's engines wedged in coral. The narrow channel between the reefs and islands indicated the boat was taken to the island deliberately. Goodenow hypothesized that Chinese fishermen found and buried Scott, avoiding detection due to illegal activities. Scott's brother Robert believes Scott tied himself to the boat during the storm. How the boat reached Taongi remains a mystery. Was the Sarah Joe adrift for 10 years? Did someone guide it to Taongi? Why was Scott's jawbone placed on top of the grave? What about the papers? And where are the other crew members? The sea, vast and unforgiving, rarely gives up her secrets. The mystery of the Sarah Joe still remains to this day, a haunting tale of friendship, fate, and the relentless power of the ocean. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.